Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you about how the narcissist remains in false self, or sacrificing the true self stays in the false self. So let's jump in. So, when you meet the narcissist, you find over time they are just a complete lie. It doesn't matter which way you chop it up. When you look at their history and what they told you, and then what you may hear from other people, you're going to find out there was a lot of lie there. A lot of that stuff was made to, it was expanded to make, their story was maybe expanded, whatever the original story was, to make them look like a superhero or a victim or a martyr. Those are typically the three roles they play: the superhero, the savior, the martyr. They'll play the victim, or they'll play the villain. They like playing the villain, but the villain also, and this one's hard for empaths to really get down, is the side where they don't care if you love them, hate them, or if you fear them, but as long as it's one of those. And what we have a hard time with is why would you want somebody to hate you, or in some cases fear you? I understand some cases of somebody fearing you, but forget the lights. But a lot of times I had a tough time with understanding why somebody would be okay with you hating them, because they're all pretty much fine with any of those. But it just means they have significance in your life, and that's all they care about. You know what it tells them? It tells them they're still corded up to you. When you either love them, you hate them, or you fear them, means they have cords into you still. So if you really want to know, there you go. Typically, that's going to be the case. Those are the three things. And that's why it's important for you to not fear. Because when you start to fear somebody right away, you're cording up to them in a state of fear. But if you shouldn't be so concerned about what could happen, as much as you should be concerned as in what you're doing, and focus on that. Because if you're living righteous, you shouldn't have to be concerned whether you're here or not here. Because either way, you're going to win. You're going to win here because you're doing what your sovereign life is supposed to be doing. You're on your life's purpose. If you are on your life's purpose, then God will protect you. And if for some reason it's your time to go, well, it was your time to go anyway. And that's why sometimes when people try to unalive themselves, they can't do it, because it wasn't their time. And sometimes it's not because they're going to come into their purpose, but God's going to allow them to admit their wrongs, and they've been refusing to, before they go. Or he's going to make them see somebody prosper that they've been holding down their whole life. Or he's going to have them feel the pain before he lets them go. This would be things that he would do for an evildoer if they're trying to unalive themselves, and he won't allow it. So even when you try to do that, you don't really have a choice in that stuff. At least if God still has something that he's going to have in his plan, whether it's good for you or not. Because if it's not good for you, it's because you're hard-headed and you've chosen the evil path. But he'll still keep you around, because he's going to use people as witnesses regardless of if they're evil or good. And you know, our greatest reward or our worst regret is when we pass from here, because that's when our legacy is in its fruition. And it's not necessarily the legacy that we leave here, as far as, you know, they're always sculpting statues and stuff of people, and most of the time they're corrupt anyway, you find out later. But it's the legacy that you take with you to the Almighty, because that's the scariest thing you'd ever have to deal with. Is like, yo, did I do good? Was I okay? So those are things that you should be concerned about, I believe, or at least that's where I am. Those are the three things, though. They want you to either hate them, love them, or fear them. And the reason being is they still have a way in, or they're corded up to you, which are kind of the same. Because if you hate them, there's still something there that needs to be dealt with. If you fear them, there's still something there that needs to be dealt with. And they have some kind of way of control, you see, in your life. That's the deal. They want power and control. And so they still, if they're corded up to you out of one of those three things, because you're reacting to those situations, they know right away. They're very intuitive when it comes to, in a weird way, an energetic way of reading people. And if it's not them, it's the dark energy that's behind them that sees it. Sometimes the dark energy is a lot of times sabotaging the host. So you got to look at it from many different avenues and aspects and dimensions. That's why you got to look at it from all levels, because sometimes the dark energy is it's always using the host, but sometimes it'll even use the host for a takedown of themselves, because the dark energy is working off the host, but it could be working for the greater of evil in the evil scheme of things. Or they get so pompous and arrogant, and that would be both the host and the dark energy, that it gets to a point to where they can't see what truth is at all, or they can't read people like they're supposed to. For instance, sometimes people will get advice from other individuals, and what the other individual is reading is, if they're like a karmic or an evildoer, what they're going to be giving you advice about is how they feel about the situation themselves. But how they're feeling about the situations themselves, you have to add into it the arrogance if they're evil, and you have to add into it how they envy and how they're jealous of that individual and want to sabotage them. So all that is going to be in the mix of, like, for instance, if you're getting bad intel and you're wondering why, well, chances are you went to an evildoer, and that evildoer was envious of the person you asked for advice about. They were jealous, they were greedy of them, they were envious of them, and they were arrogant in their thinking. So those four combinations of things were all basically, they were projecting to you in your bad intel how they really felt themselves about the individual. And that's how different people will operate. But when they become a false self and stay that way, that's because they hate themselves so much, they reject themselves so much at some point in time, that they go down a path of envious, greedy, and jealousy on all these things, because they feel they don't house them in themselves. They don't have the confidence, they don't have the hope, the faith. Whether they were broke down, beat down, and they had so many cracks in their aura that the dark energy took over and started to feed them the same thing. And, kind of, when I do believe that this all happens before we get here anyway, but even though I believe we made all our choices before we came to Earth and were birthed in our mother, we also, once we get here, we're directed. You're directed down a pathway. So if you're going to be an evildoer, they're going to direct you down that path a little quicker. I mean, right away, they're going to start guiding you that way. And that's kind of how it works. But what they do then is they've given up on themselves. So what are they doing? Now they're on the outside looking to supply their needs from the outside only, because they don't feel that they have it from the inside. So they completely forget about their own self. So they're never looking inside, because they already gave up on them inside. So now they know they're a hollow shell. In their mind, they know this. They're not really, but they're convinced of this. And so then they start looking from the outside only, because they've been convinced that there's nothing in there good, or there's nothing in there has any creativity, any joy, any peace, any goodness, or any talent. It's like what it says in the word, they buried their talent. They didn't want to use it, so they buried it. And sometimes the talents that they do choose to use, like if they're a musician, for instance, it's not helping them on a soul level. It's not helping anybody on a soul level. It's probably just evil. It's just used for evil. So it would be wicked. It would be a wicked musician is what it would turn into. That's how you'd see it out in the world. They're going to perpetuate the evil that way. And again, a musician's going to be projecting who they are to you and trying to plant seeds into you, whether they're good or evil, as well as a pastor, a spiritualist, a reader, any of these people. And I'm not suggesting one over the other or anything. I'm just saying this is how it works. So when you're getting advice, or you're agreeing to consent to listen to that junk, then a lot of times if it's an evil person, even if they're an evil person cloaked in goodness, like in a child's energy, because it's innocent, that's what they do a lot. Or a innocent empath, that's what they like. They'll take their fruits and wear them, and they look very, very innocent. Then they can have these big careers and get big titles with that innocent energy. That's a real wizard or magician there, an evil one, dark one. What they do is then they find people and they see that they have fruit and talents that they are envious of and greedy of, and they need to have to have them, but they hate them. They're jealous of them. That's what that is. Jealousy is pretty much, I hate you because you have something and I want it. And I want to take it and use it for myself, and I want you to be unsuccessful for the rest of your life. And so that's what they're thinking. So they come to them and they put on the pretty face. They love bomb them. They get into you love them and trust them thing real quick because it's going to slip. And they're stealing your energy and siphoning all of those talents that they want from you so they can go out and experience you. They're going to wear you like a skinwalker and experience you. And when that runs out and you can't feed them anymore, they're going to have found somebody else that has another talent that they're envious of, greedy of, jealous of, and they want to experience that person. They become you, so they want to be that person. And if they do this, let's say they have 3 forms or 4 forms of supply, and they're just going every 3 months, they're rotating amongst them, and they're able to keep them in their pipeline. So let's say that's all they do. Let's say they don't do anything else. They don't have any side pieces and all that. And that's all they do. They have 4 main people in their pipeline that are primary supplies. And every 3 months, they'll cycle through the one to the next over years. Well, they've been these people for so long, walking in their energy, that they don't even know what their own energy is. And so that's how they lose themselves or sacrifice themselves. It's almost as if that's why they freak out, because they don't know how to act if you take all of those forms of supply and collapse them all. Or they leave the narcissist. Let's say the narcissist gets in big trouble and they get found out for who they really are, that they're a fake, a lie, a cheat, and they cheat on everybody and use them and abuse them and stole all their money. And they all find this all out at once and they all walk away. And when you walk away from something like that and you find out how bad they are really quick, it causes them to cut their ties, their cords, like they're done for life, because they find out you have completely unmasked them and their cords get clipped. It's not like they leave them hanging on and they go back to them again. This is a situation that you'll find where, that's why they call it a collapse. A collapse is when all cords get cut from a narcissist and they're all by themselves. And that's when they start to freak out, because they start going down very fast, and that negative reaping starts to nail them on a daily basis, and it becomes one right after another, and they have nobody's energy to pull from. So they start wiling out. And then more people see it, even the people that weren't corded up to them, but they were in their midst, worked with them. They did some things with them. They were just associated with them in small ways. But then they'll start seeing that they're trouble. So they're going to distance themselves from them, and they'll cut them off, because nobody wants to be with a coward. Even if you are a coward, you don't want to be with another coward, because if you're around another coward, first of all, you're not going to get anything off of them. You're both feeding. The other thing is, if you're associated with them, then it's going to out you. It's going to out you, and their troubles are going to become your troubles real quick. So that's what you'll find, for instance, of a cult leader. A cult leader will do this. This will happen to a cult leader when a cult leader gets busted for all the things they've been doing. Like if they've been trafficking, they've been selling illicit substances, and people thought they were God's gift. And they're having all these different partnerships where they're having intercourse with all these people behind the scenes, and they're really an angry person, and they've maybe unalived people or whatever. When people find out, let's say a cult leader has done that, and because this is kind of typical, a cult leader be found out for being a real wicked person, when most people should know that by whatever they're preaching, but a lot of people don't have truth in them. But they will see this kind of truth, because this will be kind of truths that will end up being so bad it would be in some kind of a fictional book or something on world news tonight, because it's so crazy of a story. So they can't avoid seeing these kind of truths. So then they start to wile out, and they have nobody to pull from, and they don't know who they are, because they've been wearing other people's energy for so long. It's kind of like if they have a primary source they're able to hold on to, and let's say they just had that and then some side piece or something. That main primary source, they've been walking in that person's energy for so long, and if they're infatuated with them, then they're going to, and they don't lose the infatuation. It's like they're always wanting to wear more, more, more. And they're so into being this individual, they start to dress like them, look like them. They start to get plastic surgery done, cut their hair like them. They'll do everything, wear the same clothes. They'll do things like, this is where you're starting to get into destiny swapping and stuff like that, where they're copycatting and trying to be a clout chaser. These types, you're in destiny swap territory at that point. And destiny swapping runs deeper to where they really want you to off yourself and they want to take over your essence completely. But that's weird stuff, man. But this is what they do. They like to wear people's gifts and then they toss them off like it's, an old coat. But they will come back, and they'll come back and be infatuated again when you've revived, because they'll realize why they came to you in the first place last year, and you've re-upped your energy, and so now they're re-infatuated. And that's kind of how it works. They're skinwalkers, and that's why I suggest, there's a guy on YouTube, his name is Ray Ortiz. I think it's R-A-E Ortiz, and he has this, it's 12 hours of casting out all demons. It's prayers, 12 hours of prayers, casting out all demons. I play this once in a while when I'm resting, and I suggest if you've come out of a narcissist relationship and dealing with things like this, you should really put it in your ear and go to bed and listen to it every once in a while. At least during, I still play it once in a while. And it's 12 hours, straight up 12 hours. And I've seen where I think I had something maybe attached to me from my old relationship that was detached. How about that? When I was listening to this for the first time. So I know it's got power in it. I don't think I've ever spoke on that, but yeah. And that's why I know they can be like skinwalkers, because of what I saw, that kind of aura that came off of me that was demonic, that had attached me through this witchcraft that they put on me, was like a skinwalker. And I had that same night, it started out with pressure, almost like when you have like let's say like a 75-pound dog that's laying on your body, like your belly, your chest and stuff. Like, I don't know, like, it's not something you may try to do, but everybody I think has experienced that, where a dog will jump in your lap and you're like, whoa, and it's like a big dog. It ain't like, like a little puppy or something. It's always that the big dog always acts like the little dog, and the little dog acts like the big dog. Anyway, and when I was listening to this, that's the first feeling that I had. Almost, and it has that some kind of like a feeling of like a body laying on you, like the warmth of the body, of the dog or whatever that's trying to lay on your lap, and you can feel that it is some sort of like an animal. That's kind of the feeling that I had first, is this weight of this animal, and it felt like a big dog that would try to lay in your lap before. Like, you go over somebody's house and this dog jumps in your lap, big dog, and you're like, whoa, this is really awkward. But anyway, so that's, and then I saw the skinwalker thing that got, I guess I wasn't possessed, but they can put attachments on you, and that's what I think was happening. Is they send out sometimes entities, I think, in some of this witchcraft, especially when they're trying to destiny swap with you and you had no idea. This is a thick spiritual, these are witchcraft at its finest, if you really want to say that. But it's very, very evil. It's one of the more evil things they do. And so this is kind of one of my experiences that I had. And I noticed after that, things started to change. And I think it may have also been something that could have been, because these people have been doing this to me my whole life. So it could have been some sort of a generational thing almost, or it was something that was meant to hold me down time after time after time. And some of these, when it's your time to wake up, God will wake you up. He will ignite that fire in you. Anyway, that's what I got for you today. Thank you for watching. If you can give me a like, subscription, or a thumbs up, I love you all. Till next time. Soldier, peace, we out.